I knew Peter Medak's work very well. I was a huge fan of The Ruling Class, and as you can tell by the color of my hair, I'm old enough to have seen that in a cinema when I was in school. What I loved about it was its sense of anarchy, and that's kind of been a hallmark of what Peter Medak's films have been throughout, until The Changeling, which was this very formal kind of film, which, even though it was a kind of a change for his filmmaking style, it's perfect. I mean, it is so controlled, and the opposite of the anarchy of movies like The Cray and Ruling Class and even Species 2, you know. And so that kind of blew me away. I loved how adult it was, like The Haunting, you know, it's got that element, but it's even more melancholy. The main thing that I love about The Changeling is that it is so emotional. It's heartbreaking, you know, there's so much pain in that film that you don't normally associate with a horror movie. You know, it's not physical pain, it's emotional pain. And it's a sense of death and loss that is so deep. And George C. Scott is the perfect casting for that. And his wife, Trish Van Devere, of course. But the sense of losing a child, it's been used a lot since then, much less before then. Don't Look Now really is a little bit more experimental. There's something more formal and classical about the structure of The Changeling. And, you know, the raw pain of both of those movies, it's a really important part of both of them. But for me, The Changeling feels more personal. George C. Scott, you've seen him in Hardcore, things like that, where he can really take you to a place of agony that very few actors, especially of that era, were capable of doing, or going places he was willing to go. And as a director, Peter Medak really was able to bring something out in him that I'd never seen before, because he's a very hard-boiled kind of actor. He plays an artist, basically a musician, and to see the sensitivity of this character brought out so fully in a way I'd never seen before, I credit Medak with that as well as the script. When we were putting together an anthology of horror movies and horror film directors and calling it Masters of Horror, there is no more masterful movie in the genre than The Changeling. And so I wanted him for that. Everyone involved in the show who knew about The Changeling knew how great it was. There was no question that Peter was a perfect master of horror for the series, and he came in and just kicked its ass, you know, and had so much fun with all the body parts and the blood and the guts, and he was really like a kid in a candy shop, which was great to see this very esteemed filmmaker, silver-haired filmmaker, directing. No, put the arm over here, the skull here, a little more blood on that. It was great to see him thoroughly enjoying himself. I don't know many people who saw it at the time. It did not get much press at the time, and I don't think it was really successful theatrically. I don't know how wide it opened, but I don't remember anyone talking about it at the time. A couple of friends who were genre fans as well. But, you know, it's another reason it felt personal to me, because I embraced it without hearing about it from any other sources. It's one of those movies you just go to a theater because, oh boy, a ghost story is opening in my local cinema, and seeing it, and not in a crowded theater, and just feeling like I own this. You know, I felt what George C. Scott felt in this movie, and I took that home with me, and nobody else ever talked about it.
Are you the child killed by the cold cart?
I'm not surprised by its finding its audience and being embraced, because it's really special. It's really good. And to have people like Martin Scorsese and other people, tastemakers, if you will, acknowledge it, I think is important, because the genre can be grown up. And this is proof of that. And too many people think of the horror genre and its ghost stories as being for kids. And in the US particularly, the horror genre is considered for teenagers and young adults. And this is something that, you know, anyone can embrace, anyone who loves stories about the real human condition. And scary stories about the real human condition become even more potent because of that.